Okay. I didn't think that I would have to make this video until at least the midterms, but here we are. I basically see it like this, okay? It doesn't matter if you're left or right, Republican, Democrat, communist, Nazi, Best Buy manager, furry, juggalo, doesn't matter. I think that we can all agree on 10 basic facts about the United States today. Number one, we are the most politically divided that we've been since at least the 1960s. Number two, we've seen a sharp increase in political violence over the past decade. Number three, we've seen a sharp increase in social isolation over the past decade. Number four, we've seen a sharp drop in civil political discourse between both sides. Number five, we all have this little device in our pocket that we're all hyper addicted to that gives us unending, hyper-stimulating content for hours upon hours a day. Number six, we're all subject to severe social and political echo chambers on social media that gives us information that only reinforces our own beliefs and pushes us further and further away from each other in both directions. Number seven, there is an incentive structure for these social media companies to continue to push hyper-divisive content because it keeps their users sad and scared and angry, which in turn increases engagement and the time that we spend on these platforms, which allows them to harvest even more of our data and then sell it to ad companies so they can advertise to us. Number eight, there's now artificial intelligence which is making content that is almost indistinguishable from real life. Pictures and videos that you can't even tell are fake. And it is advancing at an exponential rate. Number nine, we are living in a country that has 400 plus million guns in the hands of private citizens, which is enough guns to arm every single man, woman, child, and baby. And then we would still have a leftover pile of like 70 million guns. Number 10, we all watch a right-wing influencer get assassinated on our Nightmare Pocket screens in real time. Did I get everything? Are we good? Can we agree that those are facts, like actual basic facts? Good. We're fucked, right? It feels like we're fucked. It feels like we're on a bullet train towards the worst possible outcome ever. The reason I'm making this video is to tell you that that doesn't have to be the case. Over the past 3 years, I have worked on a video project where I have traveled all across the country and I have interviewed hundreds of Americans of varying political backgrounds. I can tell you with absolute certainty, based on my experience, that an overwhelming majority of Americans do not want further political violence. And surprisingly, most Americans, at least most Americans that I've interviewed, are capable and willing to find common ground with people on the opposite side of the political spectrum. Now, I gotta make a couple of disclaimers. First of all, I'm well aware that I'm very late to this conversation about political violence and the Charlie Kirk assassination. I got other shit going on in my life. YouTube is not a full-time job, so I can't pump out a snarky commentary video 24 hours after a major news event happens. Second of all, I know that there's gonna be people who see this video and these interviews and assume that I'm just some lukewarm, fence-sitting, centrist cuck that thinks that both sides are the same or that everybody can hold hands together and sing Kumbaya. And so just to get this out of the way, one, I do have my own political convictions and the best way that I think that this country should go. And number two, there is no reality in which all Americans can agree on everything. There are certain core fundamental beliefs that it is simply not possible to find any mutual understanding on. But at the same time, we as rational and nuanced human beings have the capacity to shift our focus to solutions that benefit all of us mutually. And I believe that it is necessary, especially at this point in time, to shift our focus to things that we can agree on. Because it seems to me that we are at a point right now where if we continue to go down the path that we are going, I don't see any future that doesn't involve significantly more political violence and in turn, significantly more erosion to our own civil liberties by the federal government in response to that political violence under the guise of security and order. And that is one of the things that I'm most afraid of. Lastly, I do have to mention that most of these interviews were conducted before the 2024 election, and we are in a significantly more politically and socially divided landscape now. So I'm sure that if I ask some of these people now if they think they can find common ground with their opposing political side, I might get some different answers. But because of that fact, I think it's even more important now to showcase that we as Americans have a lot more in common than we've been led to believe. I ask everybody a series of questions, but one of the most important questions that I ask is, do you think that it's possible to find common ground with people of opposing political viewpoints? Here are some of their answers. Do you think that it's possible for opposing political sides to find common ground?
Absolutely. I think we have much more in common with each other than we give ourselves credit for, right? We have different opinions on a lot of issues, but a lot of those differing opinions come from the same place in our heart, right? We all want the same thing.
There's always something that we all want, which is success, wealth, health. There's always something that we can be in the middle. Maybe gun control, abortion, people just never will because there is no middle. It's either a yes or a no. But generally speaking, you can meet in the middle. Because in the end of the day, we are just bones, you know, that we're all going to be underground. So we all should just wish well for each other. And that's a common ground in my head.
And this is what might take convincing, is being like, hey, we both want people to do well, right? We all want the best for people. I think a lot of people do think libertarians or more conservative people fiscally or whatever don't care about suffering. And so it's basically just saying, oh no, I do care about suffering. I actually think this is the best way to get rid of it. So just, could you believe me on that? And through that lens, now we can talk about it. Let's find common ground that we both want to reduce human suffering. But if you think I don't want to reduce human suffering, then anything I say, you're gonna discount.
Yeah, we have different perspectives of things and we're besties.
I love Trump.
And I don't like Trump.
And
we're still friends.
We're still friends. We get along. We come together at the end of the day because we have things in common.
We're all human beings. We just have to stick together.
My late husband was a Republican. I mean, you know, we had some, not knockout, drag-out fights, but nice discourse about different ideas. He was an NRA member, for God's sake. But we were able to respect each other. And I learned from him and he learned from me.
So many different divisions. You know, instead of all of us just saying, hey, you wear a cowboy hat, I could too. You know, you're an American, I am too. Start looking at it that way instead of start looking at, well, you know, you're brown or you're white or you're green or blue. You bleed the same damn blood I do.
Ugh, thank God. We did it, everybody. I found the solution to the deep political fractures in our society. We just have to remember that we're all human and we all want the best for ourselves, our families, and our communities. It's not that big of a deal. We could just look past our differences. Wait, hold on. What if somebody has a political belief system that has the potential to directly harm you or those that you care about? Do you think that finding common ground with opposing political sides is possible?
I think it's possible. I think it requires some deep introspection on the side of those who even have the will to bridge that gap. I would consider myself one of those people. I'm always trying my best to speak directly to people who disagree with me and to present them with facts in a way that they can accept it and at least think about it. They don't have to agree with me, but at least receive the information. And to do that, you have to not talk down to them and not condescend and not treat them like they're less than because you disagree with them, even if that disagreement is on something that you consider to be a fundamental human value. You know what I'm saying? It's tough. It's one of the toughest things there is to look at somebody who believes in some things that may directly harm you and say, I still want to reach you. I still want to get you the information that may change your mind. That's one of the toughest things there is to do. But I do think humans have the capacity to do it. And those of us who have the will need to keep trying.
Doing a video project like this is tough because I'm trying to stay true to my own political convictions and what I think is right, while simultaneously extending a hand of communication and empathy to people on the opposite side of the political spectrum. And I know that I'm not alone in feeling like that potential for communication and empathy is deteriorating at a rapid rate.
And I do think there are people with opposing political views who are able to find common ground, but unfortunately I think that the majority do not.
We believe we can, but I can't attest for the other side. They don't seem to want to have any common ground, even though they were supposed to.
No, they just want control.
Yeah.
That's all they want is control.
And for some people, that potential for empathy and communication is long gone.
I think that we're seeing a situation where we're going to have to go full circle.
And by full circle, you mean?
Revolution.
Yeah, a civil war?
Civil war.
Wow.
I don't see that. I don't see how it's going to be any different, because you can't go down the road we're going with no compromise, or one side saying we only compromise if you agree with us. They say that of us, we say that of them, and there's no common ground.
Do you think that another civil war is inevitable within the United States?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. I think we're making the same mistake the Founding Fathers made with slavery. They never solved the issue. They just continuously kicked it down the road, and there's a lot of issues in America that we don't solve. We kind of push them down the road, and eventually they get to the point where you can't push anymore, and that's, leads to a physical conflict.
I don't really blame people for having pessimistic outlooks on the future of the United States like that. I mean, it's just like, fucking look around. You know what I mean? Just like look at the trajectory of where we're going. That being said, I think that most Americans are fully aware of the horrendous implications of something like a full-blown civil war. And just on the off chance that somebody who's watching this thinks that they do want a civil war, you don't. You really fucking don't. Even if you think you do, you don't. I feel like I know enough history, and I've watched enough first-person suicide drone videos on Reddit to know that civil war in this country with 400 million guns in this time period where we have autonomous flying robotic drones with C4 strapped to them, I don't think that's a situation that any normal human being wants to be in. And if you think things are bad right now and you're just like, fuck it, I don't care anymore, it can't get worse than this, brother, shit can get way fucking worse. And we still have potential off-ramps. To look at it in the most simplistic way possible, political violence or civil war occur when communication between political sides breaks down to such an extent that violence seems to be the only viable solution. And under the assumption that most Americans are normal and we don't want to shoot each other in the fucking face, what is the alternative to prevent an outcome like that from happening? Oh, fuck. Remember when I said that I wasn't a centrist like 7 minutes ago? Hear me out for like 2 minutes, okay? Just hear me out. I'm about to hop on my centrist shit for like half of a second.
Oh, for sure. I think most of the people in the United States lay in the middle ground, but the media and everything is so polarized that people have to take sides, which I think taking sides is important, but it's become a lot more polarized than it should be.
As I have said many times, and I believe this in the deepest part of me, I think this country is starving for moderation. It is starving for compromise. The problem is that both parties are controlled or overly influenced by the extremists on each side.
Unfortunately, it's not going to be the anarchists and stuff who are going to save us. It's got to be more people in the middle and more people who are center-minded to work together, because these people on the far extremes are too far gone. All right? It's the people in the middle that are kind of right and kind of left. Those people are going to save our country.
Okay, that wasn't that bad, right? It was okay. Sometimes defense feels nice, a little bit. I understand why people hate centrists, man. It's this idea that you can't be neutral on a moving train and you're a fucking pussy if you don't firmly stand on a political side, especially in times of crisis, when people's constitutional rights are on the line. That being said, I think that looking at the political division in this country from a more third-person perspective is a good thing. But just because I do this doesn't mean that I'm excusing political extremism, or that I'm capitulating to fascism, or that I'm fine with somebody who's ushering in a communist dictatorship. No. There are very real and dangerous extreme political ideologies. And if a government adopts these ideologies, it affects every single person's life. And for some people, it literally can mean life or death. And at a certain point, it is your moral obligation to stand up and say, no, I will not excuse or play footsie with a political ideology that has a verifiable history of killing literally millions of people. But how do we tackle the issue of a growing amount of Americans that are beginning to seriously flirt with those types of ideologies? Do you completely excommunicate those people and refuse to talk to them? That doesn't seem to be very effective. Right? I think that when communication between political sides breaks down, people tend to isolate themselves in their own echo chambers and bubbles, which leads them to becoming more and more radicalized. Do you invite them on your podcast and do a softball interview where you platform them and don't seriously challenge any of their convictions? That doesn't seem like a good idea. Do you battle those ideologies freely in the marketplace of ideas? That kind of seems like the best route, but in this age of rampant disinformation and infinite false narratives of both historical and current events, how do you rise above the bullshit and shine light on real political solutions that benefit a majority of Americans? I don't know. To be honest, I'm not even sure. I don't think that there's a one-size-fits-all solution to de-radicalizing somebody from an extreme political ideology. But I do know from the past 3 years of doing this video project that when we are honestly able to express our mutual fears, not only as Americans, but as human beings, and communicate with each other in good faith, that is the first step to breaking down the barriers that we have between us and building a better America together. The good news for all of this is that I still believe, no matter what you see on social media, that 90 to 95% of Americans do not subscribe to these radical ideologies. And I know for some people I'm not beating the centrist allegations yet. Like even saying radical ideologies and not specifying which one I think is worse or which one is more of a present danger in the United States is being a centrist in itself. So I gotta put my cards on the table. I'm a libtard. I got the woke mind virus. I got it back in 2009. It's terminal. So therefore, I am deeply, deeply terrified of many things that this administration has done over the past 10 months. And some people might be wondering, is he doing a video project on finding common ground and adding a section where he shits on Trump? Yes. Just bear with me. I'm going to try to tie everything together. There's a laundry list of things that are happening right now that this administration is doing that are signaling the alarm bells of blatant authoritarianism and autocratic corruption. And those alarm bells have turned into blaring fucking air horns for me and millions of other Americans. Things that, in my opinion, jeopardize the future of the American political establishment and the future of the American people as a whole, while also simultaneously and purposefully fanning the flames of division between Americans for their own political gain. Like, just for example, since Trump took office, he's pardoned 1,600 January 6 prisoners, some of whom were directly charged with attacking police officers. He's sued the Department of Justice for $230 million of taxpayer money. He's accepted a $400 million jet from Qatar as a gift. 3 days before Trump even got into office, he launched a meme coin that netted his family's wealth management firm $350 million, clearly using the power of his position as the President of the United States to directly enrich himself and his family. He's pardoned the founder of Binance, which is a crypto trading firm that had direct connections to his family's wealth management firm, and was charged with money laundering for terrorist organizations. And then when he was asked about it, he said,
"Why did you pardon him?"
Okay, are you ready? I don't know who he is.
Which it's like, okay, I don't know how that's a response. He gave the reins of the US government to literally the richest dude in the world, who recklessly gut programs and departments that directly benefited Americans. Then he had a falling out with the richest dude in the world, and the richest dude in the world called him a pedophile.
Legalize comedy.
Yeah, we laugh about it now, but that shows the utter incompetence and internal chaos of this administration. I think a lot of people agree on how this administration has handled the Epstein files as a whole. The constant flip-flopping of narratives, the DOJ FBI report that said Epstein acted alone and had no other high-profile contacts, then Trump himself trying to sweep it under the rug by saying,
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
And then when that didn't work, he flipped the narrative and then called the entire thing
a Democrat hoax.
Just clearly doing everything that he could to distract the public and stop the files from being released. It was only after both Democratic and Republican senators stood up against him and said, no, we're going to release these files, that he was forced to sign off on it. And now we still don't know how transparent the files are going to be. The Pentagon, under this administration, has forced journalists to sign a contract that did not allow them to accurately report on military activity, which is a contract that a majority of journalists on both the left and right side of the political spectrum refused to sign because they said that it was a violation of their First Amendment and freedom of the press.
This measure is simply a bridge too far, and it would devastate the press corps in the Pentagon.
This is a contract that Newsmax and Fox News refused to sign. And the way that he's handled the immigration crisis, it's like even if you don't give a fuck about illegal immigrants or you want them all deported, under this administration, masked federal agents have been violating the constitutional rights of actual American citizens, regularly detaining people without warrants or probable cause, violating people's Fourth and Fifth Amendment. And in addition to this, Palantir, a private company run by a lizard in a man suit, has secured hundreds of millions of dollars of new government contracts, some of which are involved in directly surveilling U.S. citizens. We've seen the deployment of National Guard to multiple different U.S. cities in rapid succession, which has created a state and federal constitutional crisis. And in the wake of all this chaos, U.S. senators made a video saying that the military should refuse illegal orders, and Trump literally called for their deaths and reposted people calling for them to be hung. None of this shit is normal, especially in such a rapid succession. And these are only a few examples. If you're a Trump supporter, You probably didn't agree with everything that I outlined in that list or how I framed it, and that's fine. But I know that what has transpired since January has caused concern for many Americans that have voted for him, which is good. That means that we can at least begin to have a conversation about our mutual concerns and what the best path forward is for all Americans. If you're a Trump supporter and you felt disenfranchised from the political establishment, you felt betrayed by a long line of politicians that have seemed to not have your best interests as a working class American, you felt gutted by the rise of inflation and housing costs, I understand that sentiment. But Trump and his administration is currently, right now, engaging in very, very alarming executive overreach. And the blatant disregard of these norms and democratic structures should be alarming for all Americans, including Trump supporters. Actions like what I outlined weaken the balance of power, opening the door for any politician, regardless of their political ideology, to further degrade the social and political fabric of the United States. Many of your concerns, and for sure your economic concerns, are shared by a majority of Americans. A person like Trump was not elected out of thin air. He is a reflection of the broken political system that most people, both left and right, have felt disenfranchised from for decades. And the Republican Party is not solely to blame for the deteriorating political and economic situation that we're in. Despite what we all see on social media, there are so many Americans that are willing to have nuanced conversations about the failings of both sides. I could talk for hours about how I also hate the Democratic Party. And I feel like a majority of left-leaning people, especially young ones, also feel the same way. We can talk about the extremism and purity testing that we have on the left, which also brings me to this point, because it has annoyed the fuck out of me recently. If you're a left-leaning person and you see a conservative or a MAGA supporter come out publicly and say that they don't agree with a certain action that the Trump administration has taken or something is worrisome, and your first reaction is to say, ha, fuck you did this to yourself and everybody else, I understand the anger and frustration that you have that makes you want to lash out and revel in the discontentment and disillusionment of somebody who you vehemently disagree with, who you view as actively ushering in the reality that we are all currently experiencing. But think about the end result of that. You get to dunk on them on Twitter and feel vindicated for 15 seconds. Isn't that exactly what this current administration wants? Just think about it. They constantly shitpost the most inflammatory and divisive content. The sitting president of the United States just recently posted an AI video where he's in a crown in a fighter jet dropping diarrhea onto thousands of Americans. This is unprecedented levels of purposeful division. They want you fucking outraged. They want you to hate the other side. Wouldn't this current administration rather have a disillusioned and resentful American that feels isolated from both political sides rather than one that has been able to find common understanding with yours? If this administration takes an action that somebody who voted for them actually hates, that is an opportunity for you to say, hey, me too. I know that we don't agree on trans issues or abortion or immigration or whatever, but this thing, the way that he's handled the Epstein files, the insider trading that we've seen in the wake of these tariff policies or crypto market legislation, whatever it is, you and I see eye to eye. We can find common ground here. And this goes for each political side.
I think giving people olive branches an opportunity to learn from one another, it kind of opens up our eyes a little bit more. So I think if people are more willing to listen instead of talk, there's more opportunity for us to come together as a country. At the end of the day, we all want to prosper. I think being able to listen will lead to more understanding with each other.
I mean, at least being a little bit more open-minded. At the end of the day, we have to determine what we want to do. And if the other party would like to come together, I believe that most Republicans are open at least to an understanding as far as what we need as far as America. Even if it's some things that we can't agree on, we all know that we want our country to be strong.
So even morally, if you think that it's the correct thing to do to dunk on your political opponent, is that really the most effective way to usher in the political reality that you want? If we don't start to have conversations and find common ground with those that feel disenfranchised from their own political leaders and parties, they are going to move further right. We already see this right now. Speaking of social media and having a one-dimensional view of people that you disagree with, I'm not sure if I like this angle. It's like a 90s rap music video angle. You know, it's fucking corny. Honestly, I don't really blame you if you have a narrow, hardline view of the opposing political side. I don't really blame anyone on either side of the spectrum. These things are fucking funhouse mirrors of information that distort your perception of reality. We are so technologically fractured that none of us are seeing, hearing, or consuming the same information. We are all in our own echo chambers and bubbles. And that is literally how these platforms are structured at their core. It's so easy to be like, no, I'm on the right side. Everybody around me is telling me I'm on the right side. And also everyone around me is telling me that the other side is the enemy and they want to destroy the country. I feel like a lot of the comments and the rhetoric that you see from the other side is the most inflammatory, rage bait material. And that's on purpose because that shit gets way more views. It props up these opinions that are objectively insane.
I'm fed the content because my algorithm sometimes is more right. It's like, oh, crazy liberal stuff. But as I've talked with you and other people, it's like, that's just what's shown to me. Yeah. It's like the Charlie Kirk thing. Like, everyone's celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. No, that's just what it showed me. So it seemed like. It's what I engaged with. I'm like, what the hell? Right. But then when I talked to my friend, she was like, I'm not seeing anyone celebrate Charlie Kirk's death. That one outraging thing, it's going to keep feeding you that, so it's going to seem like that's more common than it is.
Yeah, I think we do a great job in some situations of finding that common ground. I think social media and other forms of media don't allow us to see how often we can find that common ground and coexist amongst one another.
It doesn't matter how firmly you believe that you're on the right side. You have to acknowledge the objective reality that we are not in the same reality. And when it comes down to it, when you strip away all of the insane inflammatory bullshit, there are so many things that everyday Americans, a majority of us, can agree on. We shop at the same grocery stores. We're members of the same families. We coexist with each other in the same communities. We're all subject to the same gas prices and healthcare bills. 82% of Americans make less than $100,000 per year. 99.5% of Americans make less than $1 million per year. The bottom 50% of U.S. households own 2.5% of the nation's wealth. Think about that. Economics and the wages that we earn tie us all closer together than our opinions on trans swimmers or abortion. What do you think people on both sides can find common ground over?
If people knew how badly they were being fucked over by the ruling capital class, if they really internalized that, I believe all of these wedge issues would fall away tomorrow. Because it's just not important. Whether or not you like abortion or not, it's not something that is directly affecting your day-to-day. It's just not. It's maybe a decision that somebody makes once in their life, and it's distant and vague. But every single day and every single moment, we are interacting with large multinational corporations. We are trading our time and our life to generate money. Nothing is more unifying than the experience of like having to slave away and work and make money and try to survive in whatever the fuck this is and try to be a good citizen. The ruling class does such an incredible job to keep us so busy, to keep us hand to mouth, that we don't sit back and look around and think to ourselves, like, what the fuck is really going on?
If we're looking from the top down, I think it's just going to get worse. But if we go from the ground up and we go from taking points for people within our community, within our local sphere, who we normally wouldn't talk to or we normally would be afraid of, to process that fear, let go of it, I think that there's tremendous, tremendous hope that those differences can be reconciled, that can bubble up to the national level. I think that we often just think that it'll take like a uniting leader or something. I don't think that's going to be enough this time.
I can promise you that a trans, blue-haired, septum-wearing socialist in Portland, Oregon has more in common with a right-wing MAGA Republican mom in Texas than either of them do with a billionaire tech oligarch. Because you know what? Liberal deep state elitists or techno-fascist oligarchs, they don't give a fuck if you call a leftist retarded on Twitter or a conservative an inbred racist in a YouTube comment section. They don't even give a fuck if you storm a Capitol building or shoot a political commentator in the neck. They salivate at that shit because it gives them even more of an excuse to exact even more control and more surveillance over all Americans, including you.
It's not profitable to be at peace. The people that cause the conflicts, they don't want to be a part of the conflict. They just look at their action as being a means of getting what they want, whether it's financial gain or political power or whatever. They get what they want by causing conflict.
You know what those people in power do give a fuck about? You know what they actually respond to? When a majority of Americans, both liberal and conservative, form a coalition and find common ground on issues that retain all of our personal freedoms and strengthen all of us collectively. As things get worse economically and people become more politically disenfranchised, there seems to be this hyper-focus on bullshit culture war issues like race and religion and gender and sexual orientation. And don't get me wrong, these are real things and they affect society. And there's a time and place to have these conversations. But like, brother, Elon Musk is about to become a fucking trillionaire. We have a monopoly of 5 major tech companies that control your sources of information. And they're ushering in a new era of hyper-surveillance. And they're at the forefront of AI, and they don't seem to give a fuck about any guardrails regarding that. There are bigger and more existential issues that we have to deal with. And if I was a betting man, I would say that we're all kind of on the same page about these issues. And it's like, as things get worse and worse, we seem to be turning on each other and getting violent towards people who have basically the same amount of power that we do, which is like close to nothing. Further political violence of any kind give this administration and the federal government as a whole even more of an excuse to strip away more of our civil liberties for all Americans under the guise of security. And to the people who are on the right side of the political spectrum, I really can't stress this enough. These are traditionally conservative values. Every inch that you give the federal government right now to enact retribution or revenge on people that you disagree with, please understand that those tools can and will be used against you. Once you give the green light to blatant political corruption or overarching authoritarianism, you can't turn that dial back. You can't just ask for those rights back. And I know the reflexive urge to go, well, what about when the left did this or that or this or this? Fuck all those things too. All of us, regardless of our political ideology, have the duty to hold our elected leaders accountable when they take an action that is objectively wrong. Don't let political ideology blind you from standing up for what is right. We are talking about the federal government. This is an institution, regardless of political parties, that is beginning to take real and concrete steps to deconstruct the very document that has secured our civil liberties since the inception of this country. The more that we normalize it right now, the easier it will be for them to take further rights away from Americans in the future. Full stop. I don't know, man. It's just scary. Like, being genuine, like, no matter what side of the political spectrum you fall on, like, we are witnessing things that are happening today that we've never seen before. I don't know if I'm just in my own doomer echo chamber and I think that things are worse than they actually are and things are going to be fine in the long run. But, like, everybody I talk to, my friends, my family, strangers who I interview on the street, it feels like there's like this tension in the air, you know? And my biggest fear is that people are going to ignore it. And we sleepwalk into an authoritarian dictatorship, or we balkanize, or we have Civil War II electric boogaloo. I don't know. It kind of feels like we're at a precipice of something. If we have the opportunity to step back and focus on solutions that we all agree on, or the other thing. I'm not trying to be lame and corny, but like, genuinely, I really do at my core believe that like Americans and human beings have a lot more in common with each other than what is constantly pushed to us on social media and media. There is a way out of this political division. There has to be. Because if there isn't, then shit is going to get really, really, really bad for everybody. But I don't know. We'll see. That's kind of counterintuitive, right? At the end, like being like, oh, we can all find common ground. But I don't know. I like guns.